Cowboys are in the process of building their board. How's that happen? And why does it lead to such epic fights? Brian, when you're talking about building the board, which the Cowboys are doing right now, where does that process start? How long does it take, and when will it be finished? Let's start there.
Yeah, they're on it right now. And there used to be a time, when we were in Green Bay, it was crazy that we would start the after the end of the season, the Tuesday after the season, we would start, when the Super Bowl was over, the Super Bowl Sunday, that Tuesday, we would start on our draft meetings, and we would meet before the combine to kind of get an idea of, we would not, you would not do the skill guys. You would not do the information, do the tape for the skill guys, because you wanted all those times. We wanted the times from the combines. We wanted to know how fast the receivers and the quarterbacks and running backs, everybody was running, defensive backs and stuff. So you would do like your offense and defensive linemen, and then you go to the combine, you get all the times, you come back, and then you finish your board. And we would try and finish the board before we would go out. We go out to pro days. So then we'd get all the information and do it, bring it back in. The Cowboys are opposite. They will do all their work after the combine and the pro days. So they take all the medical information, they take all the pro days, and then Will brings them in as a group. And then you will have an area scout, which is, what it says. You'd say you have the Southeast, you live in Atlanta. Those are your schools. Then you have a cross checker, a position cross checker, which will be another scout who is, his total job is to just do that position, whether it's offensive line, cornerbacks, quarterbacks, whatever.
So he has more expertise at the individual position. Those other guys have expertise in the region.
Right, in the region, right. So what you do is you have the area scout, the cross checker, and then you have what they call an over-the-top guy or a national guy.
Okay.
And so what you're doing is you're getting 3 different reports or 3 different views of the player. And what happens is you sit in a meeting, they go through, Will will read the player. And then when I mean read, he will bring up the player's name. And because say they might be working on a position, they might be doing all the wide receivers. And then I'll say, okay, the next player on the board is Chris Olave. Okay, scout in that area for Ohio State takes the report, reads. Wide receiver cross checker reads his report. Over the top. Is
that where Jim Garrett was talking to Randy Moss? Is this where that happened?
Yeah, this is where if you go back and
all the scouts are sitting like in a big conference room.
You're in a big room. You're in like the draft room. The board's up front.
I'm thinking like a U-shaped table.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. Jerry, Mike McCarthy, Steve, and Will all right there, huddled at the edge of the table. Scouts all around in the room, and then the video, and then the board where you actually put the tags and make the stacks. So
is it intimidating when you're the area scout and it's cross checker's turn?
Yeah.
Do you pucker up a little bit?
Yeah,
like, where did I mess up?
You do, because you're worried. You're worried about, but this is what we were talking about, that the Rams eliminate the group think. Remember yesterday we were doing that segment where we're like, man, they're trying to eliminate where they're just all, the area scout doesn't in there with the cross checkers. He's not. You're trying
to encourage disagreement at this point.
Exactly, is what you're doing. And so you might get, like I say, Chris Olave gets read, and then all of a sudden it's like, then they start to watch the tape. Now, Jerry and Steven and Mike McCarthy and the coaches all sit there and they'll watch, not all the coach, only the position coach from that position will be in the room at the time. And so they'll watch and they'll have a discussion, and then they'll come to a consensus of where that tag goes. So they'll say, okay, Chris Olave, he's a first-round player. We'll give him a grade of a 115. That would put him right in the middle of the first round. Low numbers for the Cowboys are the best. The lower the number, the better. 1-0 is in the top of the round. Say a 119 would be at the bottom of the round. So from the first round to the bottom of the first round would be what you would have. So, yeah, but some of the best discussions are when all of a sudden then you have like a head coach like a Bill Parcells. And again, that's the last time I was in a war room, 2005, the DeMarcus Ware draft and things like that. Bill had some discussions about players. And I remember a player that we were talking about was a guy named Jacob Rogers. And Bill loved Jacob Rogers. He was an offensive lineman from USC. He was a second-round pick from the Cowboys. Bill was in love with this player.
What did the area scouts say about this player?
The area scouts said, Bill, this player is everything you hate in an offensive lineman.
What did the cross-checker say?
Bill, this is everything you hate in an offensive lineman. Seriously,
there was an over-the-top guy. He said the same thing?
Everybody lined up against Parcells. Everybody lined up. Siskowski, Ireland, they all lined up. Again, Tom was at the time, Tom was doing the cross-checking for the offensive line. Tom, he found Larry Allen. I mean, that's Tom's guy. So Tom has a history with this offensive line. So, Parcells is like, oh, this Jacob Rogers, I'm telling you, USC. And Tom goes, Bill, he is everything you hate. He doesn't lift weights. He doesn't like the weight room. He's not tough. He's not strong. He's not dedicated. I mean, they go into a litany of things. And Bill is just like, oh, no.
I don't see it.
I don't see it. I mean, and so literally the tag goes on the board as a second-round tag. And we all knew that. We're all like, well, damn it.
Parcells got to overrule everybody?
Everybody.
How do you get to overrule somebody?
Because you don't have a traditional general manager.
Huh.
Because a traditional general manager will not let the head coach bully 3 scouts.
Huh.
But then again, sometimes you'll see some head coaches will say, like a position coach will come in a discussion and say, oh, I love Jacob Rogers. Say Joe Philbin comes in, oh, I love Jacob Rogers. Mike McCarthy then has the right or the obligation to say, Joe, the scouts are right here.
So the head coach.
The head coach can
trump the position
coach.
See,
that's what I'm saying. Yeah, the head coach can trump the position coach and in the discussion. But if there's a huge disagreement, Will McClay does something what he calls pods. And you might hear Steven talk about it occasionally is if there's a big disagreement, they get the guys who disagree together and they sit down and watch the tape together. And they point out, well, this is why, this is why, this is why. Well, let me tell you why. That's not why. This is why. This is why. So you have the pod group then comes to the consensus of then where the tag goes on the board.
How do you feel like Jerry and Steven are? How are they operating as this board building is going on?
I think that the one thing that I always knew about Steven would challenge you. Steven would challenge you, and Jerry could get influenced. Jerry could get influenced by Jim Garrett one time. I mean, Jim Garrett has said some things. He was talking about Drew Henson, the quarterback way back in the day, and Drew Henson was at Michigan, and Jim Garrett said, and I'll try and do Jim Garrett voice. He goes, Jerry, this is the next Troy Aikman.
Oh, no.
And Jerry had his glasses on his nose, and he looked over the top of his glasses like, what'd you just say? This is the next Troy Aikman. I'm telling you, this kid is amazing. He could throw the ball. And like everybody's like going, Jim, what did you just do? Oh. And all of a sudden, see, that's where the influence comes in. And then you got a guy like Sean Payton going, oh, no, Bill, this guy can't play dead. What are we doing? This guy, and then all of a sudden Bill's like, well, you're the only one, Sean, that doesn't like him. So
did Jerry make the final decision there?
That's what you say. That's the thing about it and this is where you get in trouble sometimes. And I think Will's done a better job of not letting the coaches overrun the draft.
Okay, did you ever feel like, man, this would be a lot better if the Joneses were just eliminated from this entire process? When you were working as a scout, was there the feeling that, man, if we could get these guys out of the room, then we could run a more typical NFL draft room?
I think that to me, Jerry listens. Steven is the stirring the drink. That's kind of where Jerry's more of a, Jerry's a nodding, okay, I see. Yeah, okay, I see what you're doing there. I like this. Steven's more like, no, wait a minute. You SOBs told me yesterday that this guy is better than this guy. Now, why are you trying to jump a tag here? You told me that guy, and that.
But do they do a good job? I mean, I think this team has had a good track record of drafting.
Yeah, I think Will builds a good board. I think that Will builds a good board because he is going to fight for a consensus in that room.
Have you ever seen a scout make such a strong recommendation they were wrong and it like cost them their job almost immediately? How's that go? Because Jim is right on some guys and wrong on others.
Well, that's, the Dwayne Goodridge was a great example way back. Goody was picked in the second round. And what happened, we had a scout named Henry Schroka, and Henry works in pro personnel now. Goody was drafted out of Tennessee in the second round. We didn't have a first round pick. So Henry everybody's talking about this guy, positive. And Henry goes, and Henry's such a soft-spoken guy. I don't agree with you. I mean, he's almost like, I don't agree. He doesn't like the weight room. He's got medical problems. He's got a bad back.
I don't know what to do with those guys who have strong opinions, but there's no opinion in their emotions or their voice.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. He is so soft-spoken that he didn't fight for what he really believed in.
Huh.
And that's the thing about it. And everything that he said about Dwayne Goodrich when we got him as a player was absolutely true. But the room overran it, and that's the problem you have sometimes. And I mentioned about Jim Garrett, and I didn't mean to slam him. Well, I slammed him for the Drew Henson, but was one of the greatest videos I've ever seen, and it's about the Randy Moss draft. And he stood up and he says, men, this isn't the Boy Scouts. This is the damn NFL. And Jerry looked up at Jim, and then you got Dwayne Painter and Chan Gailey going, we don't like the guy. Bad demeanor, bad attitude, bad blah, 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 blah.
So you get fired almost for not being strong enough with your take.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you're,
you might as well go and throw it at as hard as you can to try and make it work. You're better off doing that.
How often do those arguments happen when you work in a scouting department?
Quite a few. I mean,
it's arguing season.
Yeah, you just got to know that it's nothing personal, but you just got to know. I mean, there's some guys that will know that, hey, you're talking about a guy you can't evaluate that position very well. History has shown that.
Yeah.
But you don't say that.
Okay.
You know that. And then you fight that guy because you know he has a bad track record.
But you can't call him out.
No. Yeah. No, you can't. And afterwards you might go out and you go for a walk or go to dinner and like, bro, you're dead ass wrong about that guy, don't you? And he goes, well, he's one of my higher graded guys and that kind of stuff.